Verdict: the world obeys the unmoved. You've been running since the beginning, chasing relevance, reaction, recognition. Every movement a plea, every noise a signal that you still exist. But speed is not power. It is panic disguised as progress. Not louder, faster, more, but unmoved. The world doesn't reward noise. It bows to gravity. Presence, not performance, bends outcomes. You've mistaken activity for authority, attention for respect. From chasing control to becoming the control. This is the first correction. The frantic majority moves like weather, loud, temporary, directionless. You must move like stone. Silent, permanent, defining. Stillness is not absence. It is command in disguise. The unmoved mind reads chaos as data. The detached posture rewrites the hierarchy. When others race to fill silence, you wait, and in that waiting, they orbit you. Power flows to what does not need. Influence accrues to what does not beg. You have been trained to respond, not to decide. Every alert, every comment, every glance, tiny strings that pull your attention until your will becomes public property. But this is where detachment begins, in the refusal to be summoned. When you stop answering, the world must adjust. When you stop chasing, gravity reverses. Stillness is the ultimate flex because it reveals who truly controls the tempo. Noise demands proof, silence implies it. The performer hustles to impress. The decider watches outcomes unfold. This is the paradox of command. You win not by more motion, but by mastering stillness. Your first act of power is subtraction. Remove urgency, delete performance, reclaim presence. You are not here to prove your worth. You are here to remember it. The world is addicted to momentum, but momentum without direction is decay. From endless movement to deliberate stillness, this is your pivot. When you stop reacting, people reveal themselves. The loud shrink under their own volume. The restless exhaust their leverage. You remain calm, composed, unreadable. The world obeys the unmoved because it cannot predict you. Predictability is control handed over. Ambiguity is control retained. Learn to hold your energy like a loaded silence. Every pause a question mark. Every absence a statement. Let the frantic interpret your quiet as mystery. It's not. It's mastery. And when you've learned to hold that stillness, to remain centered while the crowd convulses for attention, you are ready for the next revelation. That detachment is not apathy, but power refined into form. Thesis: detachment is power, not apathy. The stillness you've begun to practice is not retreat, it is positioning. You are not stepping back to vanish, you are stepping back to see. The crowd confuses silence for emptiness, calm for coldness. But you are not empty. You are exact, not indifference, disciplined absence. Apathy abandons the world. Detachment governs it. The apathetic hides from meaning, the detached assigns it. One drifts, the other decides. You are no longer the one chasing interpretation. You are the one setting it. From emotion as response to identity as command, your detachment becomes an instrument of precision. Feelings once hijacked your direction. A glance, a text, a delay, and your state changed. You were programmable, predictable, pliable. But when emotion stops being your compass and becomes your weather report, observed, not obeyed, clarity returns. The unmoved decide in calm, while the emotional negotiate in fog. Detachment does not mean you feel less. It means nothing outside you determines when or how you feel. It is not suppression but sequence. Emotion follows choice. Desire follows mission. From impulsive to intentional, that is the power shift. Every reaction you don't give becomes energy saved for creation. The chaser is obsessed with outcome. The selector shapes outcomes by deciding what deserves response. Detachment is the art of selective engagement. You choose where your attention lands, who earns access, what pulls focus. Power begins in filtration. Influence rises where attachment falls. Imagine the selector in a room. Eyes calm, tempo slow, gestures deliberate. They do not compete for notice. They are the reference point. Every move is a statement. I act when I choose. That posture converts uncertainty into curiosity. The world leans in, seeking cues, mistaking restraint for mystery, not realizing it is structure. You do not abandon emotion. You architect it. You build internal order so external chaos cannot dictate rhythm. That is real composure, not pretending not to care, but refusing to let care distort judgment. Detachment separates stimulus from sovereignty. What enters your awareness must now earn its place. Understand this law. What you chase controls you. What you choose obeys you. Detachment reclaims the chooser. You no longer negotiate for worth through reactions. You declare it through restraint. From I need to respond to I choose to respond, a single pivot that rewires your authority. Most people cannot imagine power without friction. They think dominance requires noise. But true command is invisible pressure, quiet confidence that bends outcomes without resistance. Detachment is how you apply force without moving. It is gravity, not impact. Pull, not push. You are no longer a performer seeking applause. You are a decider calibrating reality. The world interprets your calm as confidence because only those certain of their value can afford to wait. You will learn to use that certainty as leverage, to influence without demand, to lead without chase. Remember, detachment is not an escape from emotion, but emancipation from dependence. It is how you move from needing validation to distributing it, from servant to source, from reaction to reign. Hold that shift, because next comes the origin story, the reason you learn to reach, the programming you must erase before true sovereignty begins. The origin of weakness, how you were trained to reach. You weren't born reaching. You were trained to. From your first steps, the world taught you that approval was oxygen, that survival required applause. Smile and you're loved. Obey and you're safe. Every reward linked to reaction. Every silence felt like danger. Not born broken, taught to beg for signals. Your first teachers weren't cruel, just conditioned themselves. They passed on a system built on scarcity, worth measured by external nods. From gold stars to grades, you were wired to seek permission before peace. That wiring matured into habit, and habit became identity. The chaser was born not from weakness, but from design. Then came the performance markets, social feeds, digital mirrors, the endless scoreboard of relevance. You became both product and performer, scrolling for proof that you existed. From childhood approval loops to algorithmic validation, the script was the same. Stay visible, stay valued. You mistook visibility for significance, but attention is not affirmation, it's just noise with lighting. The constant outreach, likes, replies, performances, is not desire, it's dependency. You've been programmed to equate response with control. Yet the more you reach, the further authority drifts. The chaser is always out of breath because their worth lives outside their lungs. The selector breathes on command. Understand the trap. This conditioning feeds anxiety because it ties peace to unpredictability. You cannot rest when your stability depends on others' reactions. Every delay becomes a crisis. Every silence, a wound. The nervous system of the chaser is public property, owned by whoever answers last. But weakness isn't the flaw, it's the evidence of programming. You can't overpower conditioning you don't see. Identification is disarmament. Once you name the loop, stimulus, chase, exhaustion, you interrupt it. From unconscious reflex to conscious refusal, power returns in that pause. You were told that effort earns love, that constant output secures place. Yet true leverage comes from presence, not performance. The more you prove, the less you possess. Detachment begins when you stop auditioning for belonging and start selecting where to invest your energy. Picture the chaser refreshing the screen, waiting for a reply that dictates their mood. Now picture the selector, phone face down, pulse steady, time redirected toward creation. Same world, different programming. From approval dependence to internal authority. That is the unlearning. You cannot master detachment while your validation lives in other hands. This stage is reclamation. Take inventory of your loops, whose silence hurts, whose response defines your worth. Then, cut the cords. Let discomfort be the detox. It is not loss. It is leverage being returned to its owner. Recognize it now. The world built you to perform. But you are not the act. You are the stage. The performance collapses without your participation. Withdraw your energy, and the illusion fades. Weakness unmasked becomes strength repurposed, because only after you see how you were trained to reach can you begin to rewrite who you are. And next, you'll meet the two identities fighting within you, the chaser and the selector, and decide which one will survive. Identity split. Chaser versus selector. The new you. You've seen the roots of your reaching. Now it's time to choose your evolution. Two forces live inside you, the chaser and the selector. One begs, one decides, one moves from fear, the other moves from frame. Not a cosmetic shift, a species-level transformation, from follower of signals to gatekeeper of choice. The chaser is addicted to reaction. They chase texts, opportunities, attention, as if every moment without feedback threatens extinction. Their pulse depends on permission. Their mind stays crowded with imaginary witnesses. Every delay feels like rejection. Every scene becomes a verdict. The chaser is loud, fast, and endlessly available, the human equivalent of a pop-up ad, visible but disposable. The selector, by contrast, is magnetic. They operate with measured tempo not because they fear loss, but because they understand value. They do not reach, they reveal. Their presence carries weight because it is rationed. Detachment is not their mask, it's their native state. They are not cold, they are calibrated. When they speak, it counts. When they move, it matters. To cross from chaser to selector, you don't need new tricks. You need new laws of being. The chaser asks, "What do I need to do to be chosen?" The selector asks, "What is worth my choosing?" This single reversal collapses years of anxious outreach. You stop negotiating for worth and start curating your environment. Respect replaces reassurance. Time becomes your currency, not your debt. Understand the stakes. The chaser trades respect for access. They say yes to everything, people, projects, chaos, mistaking presence for power. But every yes drains their gravity. The selector, however, treats access as ceremony. Entry is earned, not granted. Their no sharpens their yes. From desperate inclusion to deliberate scarcity, this is how power condenses. You will know which identity rules you by how you respond to silence. The chaser fills it with apology and over-explanation. The selector fills it with stillness and gaze. Silence is not absence. It is a mirror. The one who cannot endure it has already surrendered command. Behavioral markers define the divide. The chaser speaks fast, leans forward, fidgets between words. Body language screaming negotiation. The selector slows everything down, shoulders anchored, breath measured, voice lower than necessary, each pause intentional. They don't perform confidence, they emit it. Because real confidence is simply the absence of chase. Watch your digital presence, the truest reflection of your state. The chaser refreshes, checks, types, deletes, checks again. Their worth swings with the red dot of notification. The selector posts, disappears, returns when it suits their mission. The world adjusts to their rhythm because they refuse to adjust to the world's. You will feel resistance when you start doing this. The system will punish your slowness. Let it. That friction is proof of power returning home. Even in relationships, the divide holds. The chaser over-explains to be understood. The selector states and leaves silence to do the rest. One defends, the other declares. From convincing to commanding, the line between those two is detachment, and time, the ultimate tell. The chaser fills every hour to avoid facing emptiness. The selector protects empty space as strategy. They know clarity is bred in stillness, not motion. Detachment gives them that clarity. A schedule packed with reaction is a life without control. A schedule curated by intention becomes a fortress. This is not about pretending to be above others. The selector is not arrogant. They are organized. They don't see rejection as threat, but as filtration. Every no they deliver, every disengagement, is a design choice that maintains internal order. Power is not gained through addition but through deletion. You were raised to chase what you desire, but chasing ensures you'll never hold it. Attraction begins when pursuit ends. The selector doesn't move toward, they pull toward. Because what is self-sufficient becomes magnetic, from hunter to horizon. That is your rebirth. So here's the invitation. Stop explaining yourself to those who haven't earned comprehension. Stop sprinting after signals that prove nothing but your dependency. Step into the slow gravity of decision. Let silence speak for you. Let restraint define you. Because when you become the selector, time bends, attention follows, and respect accumulates without effort. The world orbits calm authority because chaos seeks containment. And now that the split is clear, and the new you defined, it's time to learn the edicts that preserve this transformation. The 5 laws of strategic detachment await. The 5 laws of strategic detachment. The split is complete. The selector has emerged, decisive, composed, magnetic. But identity without structure decays into drift. Detachment must now evolve from feeling to framework, from awareness to ritual. These are not theories, they are laws. Non-negotiable, precise, designed to make your stillness operational. Each one is a code of conduct, a behavioral constitution for those who rule through restraint. Law I, the law of sovereign absence. Presence is not about being everywhere, it's about being missed when you're not. The chaser floods the room, floods the feed, floods every silence with proof of life. The selector understands the inverse. Absence is currency. When you step back strategically, you trigger curiosity, recalibration, and respect. The world grows addicted to what it cannot predict. Appear less, and your image sharpens. Speak less, and your words gain weight. You train others to assign higher value to what is rare. This isn't manipulation, it's mathematics. Scarcity dictates significance. Field action. Audit your visibility. Where are you oversupplying your presence? Texts, posts, availability. Subtract one appearance this week that adds nothing to your authority. Watch how the absence recalibrates perception. Aphorism. When you vanish with intent, the world adjusts its orbit. Law 2. The law of value imbalance. Power collapses in equality of desire. Whoever wants more, holds less. The chaser's mistake is emotional symmetry, investing where reciprocity is uncertain. The selector establishes imbalance by never giving more energy than they receive. Not cruelty, calibration. From fairness to leverage. This is how equilibrium becomes advantage. Detachment thrives where disproportion exists. You choose where to lean in, where to lean back. You control tempo through pacing, respond slower than you're reached, give less than you're asked, reveal later than you're expected. This controlled asymmetry keeps your value perceived as higher, your presence as earned. Field action. In your next conversation or negotiation, mirror 80% of the other's energy. No more. Hold the final 20% in reserve. Power is measured in what you withhold, not what you offer. Aphorism. Never match intensity. Control it. Law 3. The law of tactical silence. Noise dilutes authority. The chaser rushes to fill voids, mistaking speech for control. The selector wields silence as a blade. Clean, unhurried, final. Silence is not retreat. It's pressure applied invisibly. When you don't rush to respond, you force others to reveal themselves, their patience, insecurity, agenda. Stillness in conversation resets the hierarchy. The one who waits longer decides sooner. Use pauses as punctuation, not fear. Let 3 seconds of quiet sit between question and answer. Let an unread message rest an hour longer. Silence is the art of commanding tension without raising volume. Field action. Practice one deliberate pause today, before speaking, before replying, before acting. Count to 3 internally. Notice how the world fills the gap you create. Aphorism. Silence is the sound of control. Law 4. The law of emotional economy. Energy is the true currency of power. Every reaction spends it. The chaser leaks emotion through every impulse: irritation, over-explanation, outrage. The selector invests emotion only where return is measurable. Detachment is not numbness, it's budgeting. You choose what deserves your internal fuel. From reaction to redirection, that's emotional discipline. When provoked, breathe before response. When triggered, observe instead of interpret. The more you manage the delay between stimulus and expression, the more you own the space between them. That gap is sovereignty. Field action. Track one recurring emotional trigger this week. Each time it appears, delay your response by one full breath cycle. Inhale, hold, exhale. Watch how control shifts from external to internal. Aphorism. Every reaction you don't give becomes energy you own. Law V, the law of selective engagement. Detachment without direction is emptiness. You are not detaching from life, you are detaching for precision. The selector knows that engagement is a privilege, reserved for missions, not moods. You do not respond to every call, attend every argument, or fight every battle. You pick arenas that multiply your influence, from quantity to quality. That is the discipline. Each no refines your reach. Selective engagement is how you stay potent instead of spread thin. You trade validation for velocity. Every silence becomes a strategic filter, leaving only what serves your higher structure. Field action. Choose one area of your life, work, relationships, social energy, and implement a 48-hour rule. If the impulse to act or reply doesn't persist after 2 days, discard it. Detachment protects momentum. Aphorism. You multiply power by limiting access. These 5 laws are your internal constitution. They will test you, isolate you, and reveal what you still cling to. Each law converts detachment from concept to conduct, from abstract to architecture. Live them long enough, and the world stops pulling at you. It starts aligning to you. Power obeys structure. Influence follows those who conserve motion. Now that the laws are written, the next stage begins, the embodiment of these edicts in your physical presence. The behavioral code of the selector awaits. Behavioral code, the mannerisms of a selector. The laws have set the structure. Now you must inhabit them. Detachment is not proven by ideas, but by posture, not claimed through words, but through atmosphere. From slouched reactor to composed anchor, the transformation is physical before it is philosophical. Your body is the broadcast of your state. Train it, and the world will learn your language. The first rule: pace everything slower than the environment expects. Walk with measured tempo. Speak a beat later. Move deliberately, not dramatically. The chaser rushes because he fears being forgotten. The selector delays because he knows he cannot be ignored. Slowness is signal. It tells the room you control time. From scattered energy to structured gravity, that's presence embodied. Your posture is your silent manifesto. Shoulders back but not rigid, spine aligned, breath expanding from the diaphragm. The body must communicate calm readiness, not tension disguised as confidence. Sit back when others lean forward. Relax when others brace. The chaser's posture asks for acceptance. The selector's posture assumes it. Every motion should whisper, "I belong here." Voice cadence is command translated into sound. Lower your tone half a register. Let sentences land clean, without apology or filler. Do not over-explain. The less you decorate your speech, the more people listen. Use pauses as punctuation. Let silence do the heavy lifting. A rushed tone sells. A slow tone states. From talking to proving, your voice becomes architecture. Weight, rhythm, certainty. Eye contact reveals rank. The chaser looks away first, scanning for cues, afraid of being too much. The selector holds gaze calmly, not aggressive, not performative. When you speak, look at the other person long enough to be felt, not analyzed. When they speak, hold your gaze softly as if their words are optional data. This quiet steadiness reverses the dynamic. You no longer seek validation in their eyes, they seek stability in yours. Then there's no. The chaser fears it, the selector wields it. No is not rejection, it's curation. Delivered without emotion, it becomes a boundary that earns respect. Practice it clean. No justification, no apology, no soft landing. A simple, "that doesn't work for me" is enough. The more often you say no, the more valuable your yes becomes. From people-pleasing to principle-setting, no is your calibration tool. Silence, too, must become currency. The average person fills space to hide uncertainty. The selector uses quiet to charge the room. When someone finishes speaking, don't rush to respond. Let the pause breathe. Let their words echo back to them. This creates psychological gravity. People will interpret your silence as depth, not absence. The stiller you are, the louder your energy becomes. Build micro-drills into your day to hardwire this code. Speak 20% slower than natural tempo. Spend 5 minutes each morning in absolute stillness before touching your phone. During interactions, practice one delayed reaction, a measured breath before you reply. Replace one defensive explanation with a single declarative statement. End conversations first, calmly. Leave before the energy dips. Each of these acts is a small rebellion against reactivity. Each one rewrites how your nervous system handles demand. The goal is not performance, but consistency, to make composure your default setting, not your costume. Notice your gestures. The chaser gestures wide and fast, trying to project significance. The selector gestures minimally, using stillness to emphasize precision. When your movements shrink, your aura expands. Restraint is stagecraft for power, and your digital posture, your invisible body online, must mirror the same principle. Delay responses, remove typing indicators, post without explanation. Never argue in comment sections. The selector's voice does not compete for noise. The fewer signals you send, the more control you keep. This is not arrogance, it is calibration. You are not detaching from empathy but from excess. True confidence is conservation, energy reserved for purpose. The behavioral code is not about acting different, it's about remembering control was always physical before it was mental. Each day you hold posture under pressure, silence in conversation, and pace in motion, your detachment deepens. The selector's body becomes an anchor in rooms of restless waves. People feel steadier in your presence even when they don't understand why. Remember this, you don't persuade through words, you regulate through energy. What is regulated is respected. Now that your manner has become your message, you must take this code into the world, into work, into relationships, into negotiation, and test it in live terrain. The next phase begins, field application. Field applications deploy detachment in the wild. You've built the structure, you've trained the body, but philosophy untested is fantasy. Detachment must breathe in the field, in pressure, in unpredictability, in noise. Here is where you prove it. 3 arenas: work, social dynamics, and attraction. Each will test a different edge of your control. Remember, calm is not calm until it's challenged. 1. Work negotiation, power through pace. Every workplace runs on reaction speed. Emails, deadlines, sudden asks. The first to respond becomes the one without leverage. The chaser equates responsiveness with reliability. The selector understands that response timing is control, not avoidance. Calibration. You enter a negotiation or meeting and urgency is their weapon. They say, "We need an answer now." You breathe. You look once, slow, deliberate. Let me review the details and get back to you tomorrow. The delay reframes the hierarchy, from pressured participant to composed decider. Your stillness becomes a test others must pass. Use tactical silence after stating terms. Do not fill the void with justification. Let their discomfort expose their hand. People reveal need through speed. The one who rushes loses. Sequence: listen fully, no interruptions. Repeat their offer once, word for word. Pause. Count to 3 internally. Speak calmly. I'll consider that. Leave the room or end the call first. Outcome: they recalibrate. You become the standard. Detachment here builds professional gravity. Your value is no longer perceived as available but essential. Aphorism: the slower you move, the faster control returns. 2. Social dominance, the gravity of presence. In social settings, the chaser seeks attention. The selector becomes it. You don't chase laughter, compliments, or volume. You command atmosphere through stillness. When you walk into a room, your energy should enter before your words. Position yourself where visibility is natural, not forced. Shoulders relaxed, phone away, eyes observing. When others speak, listen with minimal movement, a slight nod, a half smile. When you speak, lower your volume slightly. People lean in subconsciously. Power is not loud. It's localized quiet. When confronted by those who dominate through noise, use contrast. Let their intensity burn itself out against your composure. The crowd will pivot toward the calmer presence. Stability is social oxygen. Sequence: choose a fixed position. Avoid fidgeting or scanning. Engage selectively. 3 sentences max before passing the floor. Hold brief silences between responses. Sustain eye contact gently. Leave on your own cue, not theirs. Outcome: you stop being the performer and become the point of reference. People seek your reaction as validation, not the other way around. Respect, not amusement, becomes your social currency. Aphorism: noise entertains, stillness governs. 3. Dating and selection. Magnetism. Through absence, attraction exposes every residue of the chaser. The need to be seen, liked, chosen, all surface here. But true magnetism isn't pursuit, it's poise. You are not auditioning, you are observing compatibility, not seeker-selector. Detachment in attraction means this: you reveal interest without dependency. A compliment given once, never repeated. A message replied to hours later, never instantly. You do not chase energy. You match investment and withdraw when imbalance appears. On a date, the chaser tries to entertain. The selector studies quietly, relaxed posture, steady tone. They ask precise questions and let silence stretch after answers. The other begins to fill the gap, over-explaining, revealing. The selector listens like a mirror. This dynamic builds gravity. Desire moves toward composure. If attraction begins to fade, you do not chase clarity. You withdraw presence. Let distance create the question. Mystery is born in restraint. The more predictable your availability, the faster value decays. Sequence: maintain calm tempo. Don't rush response or movement. Give attention in doses. Look away first, smile second. Match energy, then reduce output slightly. End the interaction with intent. I enjoyed this, I'll reach out later. Then do so on your schedule, not theirs. Outcome: interest grows toward you because it can't read you. The chaser exhausts attraction through overexposure. The selector amplifies it through mystery. You do not chase chemistry, you curate it. Aphorism: the one who decides distance decides desire. These are not games, they are governance. Each arena trains your nervous system to stay anchored under stimulus. Work tests your patience. Social life tests your composure. Attraction tests your ego. Master these, and detachment ceases to be a concept. It becomes muscle memory. The true power of this practice is transferability. Once you can hold pace, silence, and space across these domains, every environment bends to your rhythm. You no longer adapt to energy, energy adapts to you. Now you've seen detachment in motion. Applied, Tested, proven. Next comes the interior domain, the mind itself. It's time to master emotional steadiness, not repression, but psychological control refined into calm command. Psychological control, calm, not cruel. Field mastery means little if your mind remains reactive. The final war is internal, where ego, fear, and impulse compete for control. You've learned to hold silence, to move slowly, to decide deliberately. Now you must learn to feel without fracturing, to hold power without cruelty, not repression, refinement, from defense to redirection. The highest form of detachment is emotional steadiness. The selector feels everything but obeys nothing. Calm is not emptiness, it's containment. Emotional waves may rise, but your internal surface stays smooth. This is not about numbing, it's about neutrality. You become the observer of your own storm, not its casualty. When provoked, the chaser reacts. They defend, explain, retaliate. Reaction feeds the other's control. Redirection reclaims it. Instead of, "Why would you say that?" try interesting perspective. Instead of counterattacking, shift the focus. What made you feel that way? Each redirection is leverage disguised as empathy. You stay sovereign while appearing understanding. Unreachability is built through sequence, not stone. First comes awareness, catching the spark before the fire. Then comes pause, the breath that prevents combustion. Finally, redirection, turning energy outward or upward instead of inward. You move from being triggered to being intentional. Power is not in suppression, but in the moment between feeling and decision. To hold influence ethically, remember, detachment is not dominance, it's discipline. You do not withhold warmth to manipulate. You maintain distance to preserve clarity. The selector uses leverage to elevate, not to humiliate. If your calm becomes a weapon, you're still reacting, just slower. True control uplifts even in refusal. Practice mental redirection as a drill. When you feel anger, translate it into observation. I'm being shown what still hooks me. When you feel anxiety, shift to pattern recognition. This is my mind predicting ghosts. When you feel pride swelling, remind yourself, composure is more impressive than victory. You turn emotion into intelligence. Use journaling as your laboratory of awareness. Each night, answer 3 prompts. When did I feel pulled today? How did I redirect the pull? What belief was hiding underneath that reaction? Track these patterns for 7 days. The goal is not perfection, but detection. Every time you record a reaction you didn't feed, your psychological control strengthens. Remember, calm is contagious. You regulate the emotional climate of every room you enter. When you remain steady amid volatility, you broadcast safety and authority simultaneously. People trust those who cannot be provoked. Detachment becomes service, not withdrawal from others, but leadership through composure. Cruelty fractures trust. Calm multiplies it. You are no longer defending your peace, you are directing it. The chaser fights for approval. The selector radiates stability. Influence earned through steadiness lasts longer than fear ever could. Aphorism. Power is not how you move others. It's how little they can move you. And once you can master that, calm without coldness, distance without disdain, you are ready to face the final refinement, how to hold power with conscience. Next, we confront objections, ethics, and the boundaries that keep authority human. Objections and guardrails. Power that keeps a conscience. Every philosophy of strength invites distortion. Detachment mistaken for disdain. Boundaries mistaken for arrogance. Silence mistaken for superiority. Power without conscience corrodes the wielder first. This section is your containment field. How to stay human while remaining untouchable. Not cruelty, accountability. From boundary to brutality is a thin line, and you will learn to walk it cleanly. Objection 1. Detachment makes you cold. False. Detachment refines warmth. It doesn't erase it. The chaser offers emotion to be accepted. The selector offers presence to be understood. You do not withdraw love. You remove performance. Warmth given freely from stillness has more weight than attention given from anxiety. The correction isn't more emotion, it's truer emotion, chosen, not spilled. Objection 2. You'll end up alone. Only if you mistake solitude for exile. Detachment clears noise, and in that quiet, real connection can finally occur. The chaser fills every silence with company. The selector fills it with clarity. You will lose the crowd, yes, but you'll gain alignment. Loneliness is absence without purpose. Solitude is presence with direction. Learn the difference, and you'll never fear distance again. Objection 3. Detached means arrogant. No, arrogance shouts, detachment listens. You do not place yourself above. You position yourself within, unmoved. The selector does not dominate, they define. Arrogance extracts validation. Detachment emits calm. It's the difference between a fortress and a lighthouse. One hides from the world, the other guides it quietly. Now the guardrails. 3 principles to keep power clean. Guardrail 1. Compassion before correction. When you notice weakness in others, see their old conditioning before judging their behavior. What you've overcome, they're still fighting. Correct, but never condemn. Guardrail 2. Purpose over punishment. Every boundary you set must serve clarity, not revenge. If an action doesn't restore peace, it's not detachment, it's ego in disguise. Guardrail 3. Reflection over reaction. Use weekly reflection as your ethical audit. Ask, did my silence heal or harm? Did my withdrawal teach or punish? If harm outweighs growth, recalibrate. The selector evolves through self-surveillance, not self-worship. These guardrails preserve empathy while enforcing limits. They remind you that power isn't permission to disconnect. It's responsibility to direct energy wisely. Influence built without conscience collapses under its own emptiness. Aphorism. Ethics is the architecture of endurance. Without it, every throne becomes a cage. Hold that truth as you rise. The next step is ascension, the crystallization of this new identity, and the final decree that binds your transformation into command. Ascension and final command. Swear the selector oath. You began as motion, pulled, provoked, performed. Now you stand as stillness, deliberate, measured, unshaken. Every silence you held, every delay you mastered, every impulse you redirected has carved this new shape in you. This is no longer theory. This is identity. From hesitation to command, from noise to knowing. You are now the selector. The world will not announce your transformation. It will test it. People will tug at your pace, question your calm, beg for the old version that danced for their comfort. You will not explain. You will not chase closure. Your silence is your signature. Detachment is no longer something you practice. It's something you are. To swear the selector oath, you enact 3 irreversible moves. Each seals your power into habit and anchors authority into muscle. This is not a vow of arrogance, it's a covenant of clarity. Move 1. The daily exam. Each night you will review your day in stillness. Ask, where did I chase? Where did I choose? The answer must fit in a single sentence. No excuses, no analysis, only truth. This is your mirror. Over time, the chaser's voice fades into silence. Move 2. The irreversible boundary. Select one recurring situation that drains you, a person, platform, or practice. End it cleanly. Not in anger, but in finality. Write one closing message, speak one closing line, and do not reopen the door. Freedom begins where repetition ends. Move 3. The public withdrawal. Announce nothing, but vanish strategically from one area where you've been too available. Let absence speak as your new language. Watch how silence reorganizes the ecosystem around you. Those who respect the new rhythm will stay. Those who depended on your chaos will fall away. These 3 actions fuse philosophy into physiology. You are no longer rehearsing composure, you are composing reality. Detachment has become design. From this moment forward, your energy will obey new laws. You will not chase what runs, you will observe what remains. You will not fill silence, you will let silence filter. You will not seek to be chosen, you will choose. Remember, this is not the death of feeling, it's the birth of focus. Emotion now moves through structure. Connection now flows through clarity. Leadership now breathes through restraint. Aphorism: the world bends to the one who no longer needs it to. Now, stand still. Breathe once. Visualize the old identity fading behind you. Frantic, loud, hungry. Ahead, see the new form. Calm, precise, inevitable. Speak quietly, as if to yourself but to everything listening. I no longer reach. I select. I no longer react. I redirect. I no longer seek control. I am control. That is your oath, your decree, your beginning. The selector does not hope, he enacts. From this moment, every pause is a command, every silence a sentence. You have sworn the code, now live as the cause.